Charlotte, thank you very much for sharing your story. It's impressive. Dr. Johnson, everyone at Cuyahoga Community College, thank you for being here and having me here. And by the way, all the elected officials, you know, we call this, in my business, we call this a busman's holiday. To have to come and ride a bus again with another guy. You're awful nice to be here. The only thing worse for an elected official when the president shows up is to say, the worst sentence in English language is, I'm at the airport. So thank you all so much. You got some really great friends here. Start with Marcy. And anyway, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Dr. Johnson, thank you very much and for letting me borrow, by the way, Marcia Fudge to serve as Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. You know, certain places, just by chance and circumstance, can become markers in the course of your life or of a nation.
Biden ready to speak on the United States economy, and you know he gonna elaborate on some more other stuff. So if you pop in and pop out, that's on you. I'm just trying to share news that you all haven't, you know, been in tune with.
Of the course of the nation. And for me, Tri-C is one of those places. Just a little over a year ago, March 10, 2020, I came to Cleveland as a candidate running for president to hold a rally here at the community college. Upon unloading, we got word that Governor DeWine, he did the right thing, wanted large indoor events to shut down because of the growing concerns over the virus and spreading all across America. There would be no rally that night. And life in America had changed. And a long, dark year was about to descend upon all of us. 14 months later, we finally made it to campus. And from a year of darkness, we're now emerging into the light. And I said from the very beginning, there's no chance for this economy to come back unless we beat the pandemic. I remember Congressman Ryan and I talking about that a lot, the campaign trail. You had to beat the pandemic to bring the economy back. And so that's what we set out to do, to help a lot of the people that are right here. And after administering 271 million doses of vaccine in the first 120 days, and we have the cases are down now from January, they're down 83%, COVID cases, down. The number of deaths has fallen by 85%. Schools are reopening, businesses are opening, restaurants are reopening. And I hear that as last night's vaccine lottery, Ohio has a new millionaire. I'll tell you what, who would have thunk it? $1 million for getting a vaccine.
Them all said, who would have thunk it?
Now 56% of Ohioans have had at least one shot. We got to get to 70%. That's the goal. We've turned the tide on the once-in-a-century pandemic. We've turned the tide on a once-in-a-generation economic crisis. And families are beginning to be able to breathe just a little bit easier. We still have work to do, but our future today is as bright and as wide open as it ever has been. And now we're faced with a question. What kind of economy are we going to build for tomorrow? What are we going to do? I believe this is a race to see who wins the 21st century. Now, if I could hold just for a second here. One of the things I've found, I'm supposedly, they'd always announced me in the past as an expert in foreign policy. Well, let me tell you something. Economic policy is harder than foreign policy. You know what the basis of foreign policy is in our stature in the world? One thing, our economic prowess. or economic prowess. We must be number one in the world to lead the world in the 21st century. It's a simple proposition. In the start.
For America's national pastime. So as thankful as we are to have baseball starting on time this year, we are obviously still in the rollout phase of the COVID-19 vaccine, and that affects teams and fans, everybody. So, Mr. President, how do you envision this season going with so much up in the air still?
Well, there's not so much up in the air. What I was able to do is get over 600 million doses of the vaccines available, the 3 vaccines. When I announced, I've only been in office a little over 100 days, not quite 100 days. And I announced we're going to make sure we did 100 million shots. We're going to be up to 200 million. We have 600 million vaccinations available. And so we have enough to begin to vaccinate everybody in the entire United States. But people have to be responsible, Sage. They have to continue in the meantime to wear masks when they're around someone. I have my mask off now because there's no one within 30 feet of me. But you have to wash your hands and keep social distancing. And so it's going to be a little while. We can't, and some people think they're being tough guys, not wearing masks. Well, guess what? They're hurting themselves and other people. You have a patriotic duty to protect the people around you. But
Salute, God is sad.
The way with the vaccines are getting
Salute.
out now, and the way we're working, I think we ought to be able to, as I set a goal that by the 4th of July, I'd be able to at least have a small barbecue in the backyard with family. And by the time we get into the fall, hopefully things are moving. I don't think early in the baseball season it's going to happen, though.
Well, we're looking forward to all of those days, those barbecues. And when you talk specifically about athletes and fans, many of whom have gotten the vaccine, others looking forward to it, there are people who are hesitant, athletes who are hesitant. So, Mr. President, if you're in a clubhouse or a locker room with those athletes, what would you say to those who are hesitant to get vaccinated?
I'd say, look, I'm President of the United States. I got vaccinated. It's not. I don't have an unimportant job. Would I take the vaccine, if I thought it was going to hurt me or affect my capacity? Look, we've done an incredible scientific research on the 3 vaccines that we're using now, the J&J, Pfizer, and Moderna, and they work. There's even studies now showing that with the Pfizer, it works on younger people.
Yo, I got my second vaccination last month. So both of my vax was Moderna.
15, 16, 17 years old. So we're making progress, but we have to get to the point where enough people have taken the vaccine so you've diminished exponentially the prospect of it being able to continue to spread. I carry in my pocket my schedule, and every single day I have my staff, would I take it out here? Every single day I have my staff list the total number of people who have died as a consequence of this COVID crisis. It's 547,296 people dead. We've got to be more responsible.
So, on that note, I'm interested to hear what you have to say about what's going on in Texas. And as you know, Governor Greg Abbott lifted the mask mandate in his state, allowing businesses to operate at full capacity. So, the Texas Rangers say there will not be any attendance restrictions in their stadium this season. That means it could be filled to capacity, Mr. President, 40,000 people with masks required except when actively eating and drinking. What are your thoughts on the Rangers' decision?
Well, that's a decision they made. I think it's a mistake. They should listen to Dr. Fauci and the scientists and the experts. But I think it's not responsible.
So it's also not just baseball, it's in football as well. As you know, Commissioner Goodell said Tuesday, the league is making plans to open its stadiums to full capacity for the upcoming season. Is it different maybe with them because the preseason is 4 months from now versus the Major League Baseball season beginning now? What's your reaction to Commissioner Goodell's decision right now?
Well, the longer time we have to get more people vaccinated, we're now at the point where we have almost 75, we'll have 75% of the people over the age of 65, the most vulnerable population, vaccinated. And we're moving across the board that way. We're significantly increasing the number of people vaccinated. And that's going to.
All right, I'm ready to damn find that shit. Hey, yo, it's been a war going on for a month or two, probably longer than that, against Israel and the Palestinians, right? That shit to the point where they shooting missiles and all of that shit. But I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Everybody knew about that shit. I'm gonna see something right quick. Hey yo, bear with me, man. My shit had froze, man.
Subsidize these settlements.
The death toll is rising as the two sides take aim with airstrikes and rocket attacks. Weeks of clashes in Jerusalem have led up to this, the heaviest fighting in years. 7X News reporter Alan Campbell is following local concerns over the deadly escalation.
For those of us who follow this conflict and monitor it, this is not a surprise. The tension has been very, very high.
Deadly attacks escalating overseas as Israeli and Palestinians exchange rocket fire and airstrikes. The violence also taking to the streets.
Even places where Jews and Muslims.
Violence is escalating in the Middle East. Thousands of Palestinians are fleeing as Israeli airstrikes bombard the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Health Ministry says more than 120 people have died, with even more wounded. On the other side, Hamas continues to fire rockets into Israel. Officials say at least 7 people there have been killed. Fears of a ground invasion by Israel are also growing. But the White House says it's working to de-escalate the crisis. Matthias Tayyab has the latest from Tel Aviv.
One of Gaza's youngest victims is rushed to a hospital. Since fighting began 5 days ago, nearly 1,000 Palestinians have been wounded. As Israeli fighter jets pound the territory.
You know what? Here's to going for it. And being terrible.
Jacob Fauci is an American Israeli. He became infamous after Mona confronted him and the video went viral.
Jacob, you know this is not your house.
Yes, but if I go, you don't go back. So what's the problem? What are you yelling at me? I didn't do this.
You are stealing my house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it.
No one is allowed to steal it, Yammi.
He's been living in an additional part of Mona's house for over 10 years after being recruited by a US-based company called Nahalat Shimon International, which owns the property under Israeli law.
How did you end up here?
It's a long story. Basically, I needed to move from where I was, and my friend was very, very active in this neighborhood. And he said, you can stay here for the time being.
Do you pay rent?
I have an arrangement with the owners of the house. I don't want to get into personal arrangements and rents and things, but yes, I'm a tenant here. I have no ownership over this property.
Yes.
That was for educational purposes. I ain't trying to share no other content. Just trying to shed light on the worldly events that's currently going on.
process with the bread. Come hold this right here, my son. Now, this is the process here. Get up on, everybody get up on. Okay, how we gonna do this? It's the bottom, the top.
Y'all go check out Fresh Ain't Dead. Y'all sub too.